Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. So today I am going to tell you how does Kamala Das in her poem Introduction radically assert female identity in a patriarchal society. So here is a small introduction of Kamala Das. Kamala Das was one of the most prominent Indian poets and writers in English literature, born on 31st March 1934 in Kerala. She was also known by her pen name Madhavikutty in Malayalam literature. Kamala Das became famous for her bold, honest and confessional style of writings. Her poems mainly focuses on themes such as love, loneliness, identity, feminism, marriages and the emotional struggles of women in a patriarchal society. She fearlessly expressed her personal feelings and experiences, which made her poetry unique and powerful. Some of her well-known works include Introduction, My Grandmother's House, and her autobiography, My Story. Through her writings, Kamala Das gave a story voice to women's emotions and freedom. She is regarded as a pioneer of feminist writings in Indian English literature and remains an influential literary figure even today. So, welcome to today's explainer. Today, we are diving into a text that literally shocked the literary landscape. Kamala Das's poem Introduction. This is not just a poem, it's a completely radical assertion of female identity. She did not just challenge the patriarchal norms of her time, she absolutely bulldozed right through them with this raw, fearless self-expression. Let's get right into it. So think about this. What happens when a woman simply refuses to be silent? In a world that explicitly demands her absolute obedience? Just sit with that tension for a second, that intense friction between rigid societal expectations and a burning, undeniable desire to just express yourself. Well, that's exactly the conflict Kamala Das lived, and it's what she wrote right through the center of. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be tracing her journey through challenging the silent women, her rebellion of language, rejecting traditional gender roles, the power of I, and finally her fearless confessional legacy. Alright, section 1. Challenging the silent women society versus Kamala Das. To really grasp how grave this work is, we have to recognize the environment she was writing in. A deeply conservative, heavily male-dominated society. Female obedience wasn't just expected, it was the literal structural foundation of the culture. Okay, let's dive into the source text we are unpacking today. Reading this analysis is honestly like uncovering a fiercely guarded, super personal diary. Introduction is a powerfully autobiographical. Das was not hiding behind abstract metaphors. Here she put her actual, real-life loneliness, her complex identity, and her desperate desire for freedom right onto the page, and it completely shocked a society that was entirely unprepared for that level of truth. The contrast here is just staggering. On one side, you have the mandate of the era: women must remain silent, obedient, and totally dependent, and on the other, you have Kamala Das, herself vocal, widely independent, and ruthlessly honest. She did not just bend the rules, she completely shattered the mold. Moving on to section 2, the rebellion of language, owning the voice. Her protest was not just about what she said, but in how she actively chose to say it. Right from the jump, Das introduces herself with this total unshakable confidence. She says she is Indian, she is Malayali, but crucially, she is a writer who chooses English. The pushback to that was immediate. Critics demanded she write in her mother tongue, Malayalam, but they were not just giving literary advice. Right, they were trying to control her thoughts by controlling the very vehicle she used to express them. But Das defends her choice brilliantly. She argues that the language she uses becomes entirely her own simply because it allows her to express her actual messy truth in a world bent on denying women a voice. Claiming a language as a personal tool for honesty was an incredibly radical act of defense. This brings us to section 3, rejecting traditional gender roles. The body and marriage you see thus did not limit her fights to intellectual battles over language. She took the rebellion straight into the living room, right into the domestic sphere. Now, what's really interesting about this is a specific, almost chilling comment from the poem Dress in Saris. Be girl, be wife. It perfectly highlights the absolute absurdity of reducing a complex human being into a simple, predefined domestic checklist. Society demanded that women remain soft, submissive, and neatly boxed into these little roles. That's rebelled against these restrictions precisely because she lived the dark side of them. Having been married at a young age, she laid bare her emotional dissatisfaction and this profound, deep loneliness. Instead of silently swallowing her suffering as expected, she brought female desires and hidden pain right out into the light by doing that. She gave a powerful voice to countless women trapped in the exact same domestic silence. Section 4. The Power of I. Establishing identity. So you might be wondering, how exactly does a poet grammatically assert her independence? And this brilliantly illustrates the answer. It's the relentless repetition of the word I throughout the poem. I mean, it's just a single letter, but in this context, it's absolutely explosive. Every single I is a strike against eraser, reflecting her fierce, unstoppable determination to establish her own individuality. Traditionally, a woman's identity was completely contingent on the men around her. You know you are someone's daughter or wife or mother. Thus uses word I to completely sever those dependencies. She asserts herself as a complete stand-alone human being with independent thoughts. It's a brilliant, totally radical feminist act. Which leads us to our final part, Section 5, our fearless confessional legacy. Honesty is strength. Kamala Das's totally unique approach is what truly cemented her place in literary history. So the crucial point is understanding this approach, known as the confessional style. It means speaking directly and honestly about deeply personal emotions and experiences without a filter of fear or shame. In an era demanding extreme quiet modesty from female writers, utilizing this raw confessional tone did not just cross traditional boundaries, it completely demolished them. What makes her work endure is the fascinating duality it presents. She openly exposes intense pain, loneliness, and frustration. Yet she never ever appears weak. Actually, scratch that, it's her absolute refusal to surrender her identity despite massive social criticism that transforms her vulnerability into this totally impenetrable strength. The impact of introduction is simply undeniable. By taking personal pain and forging it into a spirit of pure resistance, she basically gave other women permission to do the exact same things. It remains an absolute cornerstone of Indian English literature. It's a powerful, unapologetic demand for freedom and equality. Kamala Das found her identity by exposing the hypocrisy of a society that desperately wanted her to stay quiet. She spoke her truth without apology and flat out refused to be silenced. So as we wrap up today's explainer, I wanna leave you with this thought. How are you using your voice today? Are you speaking your truth? Thank you.